He owned and operated T. Roy Brown's Cafe in Flinders Street. He volunteered for Vic at NAIDOC Week, hosted Monday nights at PBS, and founded Really Good Radio, a die-hard basketball fanatic with a high score of 38 points and 11 rebounds. An MC extraordinaire, a proud son, husband and father, the founder of Black Brews Tea and Coffee, a tutty, waddy, moody, wumba, letcha man, raised in G-Town, Geelong. Give it up for Troy Benjamin.
Sounds good, brother.
Troy Benjamin, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, brother. I thought we were just listening to that as a demo, but rock and roll, here we are. Man, this feels almighty comfortable and familiar.
So much so. It's
great.
For those that haven't or don't know Troy, you probably don't live in G-Town if you don't know Troy. And you haven't been around the festivals and all the different places that Troy has been in that piece. But before we start, let me ask this question. If we're looking at acknowledgement of country or welcome to country, what do we do in this space here? Because I'm now in your space. You're the First Nations person. Just so that I understand, what's the protocol?
Well, usually, I mean, it's not a like you must start every single day of your week and every conference and every meeting and every Monday of your workspace or every festival. You don't have to. You don't have to acknowledge country. It's not make or break. Like, things aren't going to happen to you. Maybe some spiritual people, ancestors out there will say, yeah, you're better because your aunties are going to, I don't know. I'm different, right? Maybe I'm a bit less, I guess, thinking about you must do it. But if it's comfortable, you can acknowledge, and if it's in you, you can acknowledge country. And as an Indigenous man, but even I don't want to eliminate the importance to a non-Indigenous person too. This isn't something exclusive. And oh man, I'm already getting brackets of topics. Our culture is not exclusive to us. It's to be super shared. Like, not as you do it just a little bit and I do it the most. Acknowledgements is for anyone to acknowledge country. And my premise when I do it, if I ever think of doing it, and I don't do it a lot of MC gigs and stuff that I do, I don't do it. And I notice every other guest gets up and acknowledges, and I'm like fourth guest down the line, and then I'm like, man, should I just get up my next time and just go, hey, by the way? But I don't do it, and I just don't feel the need to or the urge to. But if you bring it up and you get me thinking about it, and then I start thinking, yeah, cool, and I acknowledge. But I just love thinking about origin, and when we talk about shared history, someone's shared history being a non-Indigenous person might only go up until 1788, and with a little bit of couple of history lessons that I had in year 8 and 9 about some boats coming over, and then there's Aboriginal people with spears in kind of sepia paintings, but they don't know what happened. And if you get a bit more knowledge, then I think an acknowledgement would make a lot more sense to people, and it's certainly not a divisive thing or, hey, I will do this, I'll take care of this, and you just shut up and listen. It's if you got the history and you got a bit of knowledge in your mind, and you know some things, which I do, but I don't know everything, then I love kind of thinking about what was here before this big concrete building, and that's where an acknowledgement comes from. So we would acknowledge the landowners. So traditional land ownership is another thing that we don't really talk about lots, like who owns this land, and we're not talking about who purchased it. So then you've got to start thinking about your framework of mentality of what is ownership. Do you really own it because you paid lots of money, but you don't care for your land? Like, what is you profit off it, but you don't build communities and families on it, or you're here to build a 10-unit house and knock out all these other people off their land, but you're not willing to grow your family on it or grow crops on it or think about sustainable practices. So when we say land ownership, it's all those things. So traditional owners are the smartest owners going around. So it's really special to think about what the Wadawurrung people would have been doing on this land. Like, Breakwater where we are is new anyway. It's like 3 years old. There actually was paddocks here 3 years ago. And there's a few rabbits floating around behind the gates of Barwon Water over here. Like, it's not that long ago that there would have been some serious different practices and lifestyles going on here. I don't think 3 years ago people were having coolamons and fishing out of this yucky river down the road. But it's not that hard to think about traditional ownership and caretaking and and land sovereignty. Even the word sovereignty, the white man or the non-Indigenous person might go, "Ooh, hang on, we're the bosses, you're not." It's just like, shush, it's not about crushing the other person. It's about building capacity for everyone that steps onto this land. And the Wadawurrung people are the original OG land management people of this area. So big ups to them.
You know what? Thank you. And thank you for having me here. You know, the reason why I asked that is because of that exact same reason, right? Sometimes we go out, and I did an event the other week, and there were 3 acknowledgements of country, one after the other. And, you know, it's just trying to sit of where you see Trudeau. And some of it for me, sometimes I see Trudeau to say, hey, I acknowledge what's happened here. I acknowledge in that space too. But thank you for taking the time to explain that. Not just to me, but to everybody else out there.
Do you want your headphones back, by the way?
Yeah, I was looking at that, just looking at the levels going, this is really interesting. How am I going to work out these levels when I don't have the headphones? Mate, thank you so much. I just realised I hit mute on there as well. It's probably why you're probably asked if you want my headphones back, because I actually had it on mute. Just a real snapshot of, let's start from now and go backwards. We are sitting in your Black Brews tea and coffee van. Big smile on your face looking around, and I'm the same. I'm really excited for this, having known some of your journey before. What is this? What is this?
This is an extension of Black Brew's brand, but also it's a very familiar space for me, having worked in cafes. I've always been able to get a coffee machine and a grinder and jump into the middle of an audience and bang out coffees. It's a skill that I've learnt. But to be back in it at this, you know, it's probably 15 years ago since I had a cafe in 2010, but mobile operations, it's a different beast. And, you know, to be honest, I'm really sore and tired right now because I've stood up for 2 days at Meredith Festival. 2 days. I used to do it 6 days in a row, you know, down at my old cafe. But this is really an extension of an opportunity to be able to talk about our tea and coffee, and there's no better way than to get out in front of people. It's all good having an online store, but people like to touch things and they want to know our story, and we want to tell our story too. So when we're out at a festival, say we've done Meredith, they see the van, they see all the leaves, they see some Indigenous artwork, they see our logo, they may or may not have heard of it. It's only a year old, so but it's slowly getting out there, and people are seeing us at festivals. And you're just standing behind the jump where you get to just sit there and look at. It's always weird, isn't it? Like, I don't know if you've ever
seen from the other side. You sort of picture it, it's all great, and you sit behind, you're like, oh, okay, so this is what it looks like from the inside looking out.
You just get a different view, and same probably with, you know, when you get behind a mic. Lots of people watch you all those years, and then you go behind one, you're like, wow, this looks very different from the pulpit. So we're in it. Yeah, it's good fun.
Let's have a look at this. I want you to have a look at this image here.
There you go.
And let's talk through what this is. For those that are listening, this is an image, and if you're watching this, we'll bring this image up. So picture picture the cafe operator, the flat cap on, the tea towel over the shoulder. Talk us through this image here. What is it?
It's T. Roy Brown's, I think, circa 2016, 2015, or maybe 2015. This is the second space that I was in, the Banana Alley Vaults there, right where Tony Doherty's gym is. There's about 11 vaults there, old viaducts that used to run the water, carry the water when it used to flood down Burke Street and used to go into the Yarra. But we found, this is the second space I was in, and it's my cafe, T. Roy Brown's. I'm looking at all this stuff going far out that needs a clean up. Like, I'm automatically on clean up mode. Like, what's that? Who's putting these sauces there and that chalk writing? Why did I write? But anyway, it's to be honest, it's towards the end as well. This cafe served me for 7 years, and I got to serve the Melbourne community first. But, you know, that spot, it's got opened up so many doors. It placed me in a different space, I think, in other people's minds. I was just an average old barista up until I started this cafe, and I took a jump with the big support of some friends who financially got me there to be able to sit there and buy a lease and buy whatever you buy in a cafe. I didn't buy any customers because no one was in the cafe when I got it. But this is like year 6, and look at that.
So just put up a photo of T-Roy Brown's. It's a cafe with milk crates out the front. T/Roy Brown's Cafe. Flat cut, big smile on your face. It looks like a tired smile on your face, though.
It's not a grey beard, though. It's funny what you look at only just a few years before. This is 2016, and I wish I looked like that. But at that time, I probably wish I looked like 3 years earlier. It's interesting.
Exactly.
But I love it. Like not because it's named after me, but I built that shop. I built that community inside a concrete jungle, inside a space where my very great accountant and advisor at the time said there's more graveyards down at Banana Alley Vaults than there is successful businesses. In other words, he said, don't do it. It's just so many people have tried thinking of the thoroughfare will work, but only things that have worked there is nightclubs and burger joints. And to sit there, that's literally probably in the last year. It is tiring. I'm feeling it today from doing it for 2 days. But it's me, and I got to sit there and stand at the front of that shop just like that. I don't know where you got this photo, but I can't even remember taking it or getting it taken. But because there wasn't a lot of ones where I was standing still with no customers in it. It looks like it's the evening because there's no one in there, and there's crates up in the background. There's crates up on the bench.
So I'm just about to bring up another image here, and I want you to explain what this is.
Oh man, the loyalty wall. It started off as a couple of people's names came in, and a couple of people came in, and I forgot their names like 4th time in a row. So I'm like, "What's your name, man?" You can see right at the top. There's like Cav and Coles, and then it was like, "Oh, I'm going to count how many coffees you get," and that became the loyalty card. I did not, one of those ideas that at the time I didn't think it would grow into anything, but you can look at it and it straight away shows years of people and a history, and it gives people confidence in the product, and everyone wanted to get on that wall. I literally told people there's no space. You can, you're going to have to find a little wedge, and you can see in the top right, WR, he's got one. He didn't come back probably because he felt neglected up the top right. But we're rubbing things out every New Year's Eve, or every Christmas time when the cafe would shut. It was just mayhem. So I would wipe all this down with a can of Coke and a towel to make sure it's all sheened, and then consolidate again. I did that maybe twice before I sold, and I took a photo of that before I exited. People still talk about that.
Yeah,
that wall.
If anybody's listening, it's a picture of a wall. It's a chalkboard written in chalk, names with numbers next to them. 4 coffees in the slash equals 5.
That's
the
right.
Loyalty system. But there's at least 100 names on this wall. 100 plus just in this picture.
Yeah, I mean, and people came and gone because naturally they finished work in the city and their pattern didn't make them. I mean, we were really a ritualistic cafe. Like people would get off the train, chuck a left, hit our lights, and head up Queen Street, or you had to work in South Bank or Crown, or if people generally didn't it's a hard spot to get to, by the way. Like it's really hard. So I remember people putting their name down and coming down 2 years later and showing their kids, like, look there, there's Ronan up the top there. There's Dunks actually. This is the coolest. I don't know where you find this stuff, Al. Your research is incredible. But it's just years and years of history and work and relationships, but most of all, man, the way you operate, it's conversations. Many conversations there.
I want to take a bit of the journey. So your coffee's as good as your customer, and your customer is as good as your engagement that you have with your customer and the relationships that you build. So running a cafe, doing that sort of work, doing what you're doing now, my question is, what is your adult job? What's your grown-up job?
Caring for my family. I don't know if that's kind of really what you mean, but I definitely, that's the first thing I thought of right there is what's my number one responsibility right now? That's what I call a job, paid or not paid. But I guess in terms of professional thing, far out, running Black Brews, the MC stuff and the DJ stuff and all that stuff comes kind of fleetingly, but I don't want to make a big career out of it. Unless it was paying maybe 4 times more, because it's sporadic. But
exactly, and that's the reason why I asked, because it's so sporadic the work that you do.
Yeah,
it's hospitality and it's entertainment and it's all those sorts of things. There's always the question of why don't you just get a normal 9 to 5 Monday to Friday? Why wouldn't you?
I can't do that. It's been tried and done, and usually you're not the boss if it's 9 or 5. I don't know if that's. I'm just thinking quickly.
Unless you are the boss.
Unless you are the boss, would you put 9 or 5 hours in?
Probably 10 till 2.
It's going to be unique, it's going to be, or the opposite. It's going to be 10, 12 hours in the day. But 9 or 5, I mean, just what that stereotypical view of that, I just can't handle it. It blocks me in. It's predictable, and I like being unpredictable. I like flexibility, but probably something more I've noticed later than earlier was I'm a creative person. I never would have said that in year 8 to my art teacher, but creativity's doesn't stop at a paintbrush and writing music.
Exactly.
It's this.
At what stage in life were you when you thought, I have a creative brain? Because I have a similar pathway, but my creative brain was sometimes considered as being too dreamlike or lazy. At what stage did you go, I've got a creative brain? And then at what stage did you say, I'm now going to use this creative brain for something better?
I think the times at school told me that I wasn't creative, which is, sad reality with a lot of kids that potentially have no interest in any of the subjects aside from sport and play. I'm not just talking about every kid, but I had no interest in most of the other stuff when I was told to sit down, the bell's in 30 minutes. I was just staring at the clock, man, just do anything. So after school, it wasn't even until I started working, doing jobs. I'd quit jobs. I didn't quit quickly, but I got bored. And so I'd find something else. I went from retail to I was a train conductor. I worked at Foot Locker. I worked as a bussy. I went to bar management. And I never, though, had enough of me, probably of that grunt and consistent work rate, to be the boss or the next one up. So I ended up finding the cafe, and that I'm really honest, that cafe is my most pivotal moment of my life in ways that I never would have thought.
At what stage, so the pivotal moments, at what stage during the cafe, or when was it that you went, this is going to change me?
In the first few months, I had people that I regarded as very sophisticated adults. I still don't. I don't know whether I just feel like a big kid making it up. Like I feel like I laughed at the wrong time, I joke at the wrong time, and I'm always thinking about jokes, or I'm crying at the wrong time, or I'm just feel like, I coach my son, I go watch my son play basketball, and I hear their dads are the same age as me. They look like they're 55 and just adulty. But people used to come up to me in my first few months at the cafe, not knowing that I just started 3 months earlier. Amazing that they didn't see that there was calamity or stress involved, because I had to pay back money, and it was a loan that I got. But people would come up to you and ask for advice on random life things based on me being a boss of my cafe. It was whack, and I realised that that people need leaders, good leaders, but people that can listen. And I think that was really evident, and I thought unwarranted. It has not stopped since I said I'm an owner of a cafe, and people used to always go, you're the barista, are you the head barista? No, I'm actually, it's called T. Roy Brown's. It's named after me. It's a bit self-absorbent, but I'm the boss. And it was strange. I don't know, but anytime you're a business owner, you do get looked at like you've got some kind of idea about how things work. I don't know. Do you find the same?
I think part of some of that for me is the space that you're in hospitality. Good hospitality is about open relationships. You are serving people in their entertainment, private,
Totally.
So they're open to stuff. So they're open to watching you. You build a relationship, and then you provide advice.
No, you get invited to 50th birthdays, you get invited to weddings, every barista out there who ever listens to this, or I'm sure there's some other jobs out there that when you're if you're the fruit shop manager or something, you get invited to things that you should not be, what table do you go on, the last minute? And I remember going to gigs, people go, so how long have you known this guy? I'm like, I just make coffee for him every morning. And I just felt like such a phony, but I know what it's like. I know now that I'm no longer in that game, I know what being the regular is, and you get a little bit of arrogant pride. This is my shop. I'm the customer. This guy knows my coffee. It's you do such little things.
Let's talk about that. The importance of that. knowing somebody's coffee. Like I talk about acknowledgement. One of the biggest things I talk about is acknowledgement. You walk into a cafe and they're like, "Hey, it's the." Bang,
I do this
and
down the
deliver.
street, Al. I do this down. If I see a sect person twice, I'm loving the fact that I've seen them twice. Like, I don't know why I get off on it. Like, oh, babes, and I tell Carissa, Lockie, I've seen that guy. This is literally 2 days ago wearing the same thing, driving the Ute. I've seen him, and I just think it's fascinating. And then I've always like that. Anything I see twice. Maybe it's a bit of Rain Man, maybe it's a little mild Asperger's or something going on. I don't know, but I've got a thing for repetitive things in life. If things happen twice or 3 times, I'm all over it. Like, what is going on here?
Do you look for the pathway? Do you go, hey, I've seen somebody twice, there's something happening here? Or do you go, hey, that's weird that they've seen them twice?
No, I'll probably cross the street or go, hey, I saw, you know what? If I bump into him somewhere, I go, man. And I've spooked out so many people. Like, sometimes you actually meet them. Like, man, I used to see you walking across to Hungry Jack's back in 97 when I was doing acting down St Kilda Street. You're that guy. I actually bumped into. So here's how it worked. I went on a recent trip over to PNG for a First Nations Botanicals conference. It was brilliant. The one guy on my trip, who I got along with because he had a coffee company, so we both hit along really well. And I was talking to him. His name's Sean, and he goes, "Oh, I'm also an old basketballer too." I went, "Oh, right, here we go. It's up my field too." And did you ever play in those Aboriginal tournaments? Do you remember? And I told him a tournament. He goes, "Yeah, I was there." And I've always remembered, there was a 3-point comp. This is in 1997, Al. Like, it's a long time ago. There was a 3-point comp, and I went in it. And this dude down the other end was against me, knocking down threes with a moon boot on, and it has a head like a white golf ball, like a bowling ball. Sorry. Anyway, I'm looking at Sean going, he's got a head like a white bowling ball.
No.
And it looks like him. But I only saw the back of this guy back in 97, and I was so overwhelmed. I had no idea who it was. Never spoke to him. I said, "You didn't have a moon boot on when you're shooting threes." He's like, "Get that."
No way.
Why? I went, "I remember you. He's like, "That is whack. Did we speak?" He's like, "Nah." I just remember watching him, white, big, bald head, shooting threes with a moon boot on. He's like, "I had a broken leg that tournament." That is spooked him right out. But I enjoy grabbing, collecting memories and unique things about people. And if they happen a second time, I'm definitely talking about it. So the cafe, that skill, or you call it a skill, it helps a cafe operator so much. And we've all heard it loads before. Like, you get annoyed when you go in a 10th time and you're the one going, I'm coming in for my number 10, surely this time. And they're like, "Hey, mate, what are you after?" You're like, "This is wrong."
You go, come on.
Come on, look at me.
100%.
It's me again.
100%.
Just acknowledge me.
And it's the same routine. And I'm hearing it at 8:54 every morning for the last 4 mornings. It's now Friday.
Yeah, at least say almond cappuccino. Like, say something. Say something. It's not needed, but gee, it goes a long way.
But you think about this, right? Like, one of my theories is if we were just a little bit kinder, a little bit more patient with people around the world, a lot of our problems go away.
And
So
interested,
imagine,
interested in people's story.
See, and this is what this is about. This is about finding people. And I don't have to look too far with lots of people that I've come across, and especially when they started thinking about this, you were top of the list there to sit there and talk about different stories. I want to talk about yours. So I call this playing in the shallows, and then we're taking opportunities to dive deep as well. So before we, do you
want a cup of tea while we're having?
Let's go this. I've watched you pour this. If anybody's listening or watching at home, you'll notice I'm now holding the microphone because I've had some technical difficulties, and the show must go on. What's this tea?
We're drinking a red senna. So this is an uncaffeinated tea that's got rose hip hibiscus, quandong, and strawberry gum.
Wow.
It's the best. If you don't enjoy tea generally, this is one that tastes like red cordial.
Yeah,
and it's off its head.
wow.
Great iced. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought I'd just enjoy that with you.
But iced as well.
Great
Summer
iced.
drink.
Great iced. Yep. Anyway, yeah.
I know I forgot what I'm talking about.
Shallow. That you went from the shallows to the deep.
Yeah, I actually stayed in the shallow because this tea is beautiful. This tea is beautiful. I want to let's go from shallows to deep. Pivotal time in your life. You talked about the cafe, but there's a time in your life, as we all have, where we're like, you know what, my life has to take a different path. My life has to be different from what it was, or there's something along the lines. What's something in your life that you grew up with going, hey, this is a moment that I'll kind of remember for a long time because I need to change what I'm doing for whatever reason?
When my dad died, I never knew him, never met him. And naturally, you might think, oh man, that must have been. Everyone says, oh, what a bummer, you never met him when he died. Like, but I never knew him, so I never had an inkling. Like, he was around. Mum and him were 16 to 18, 19 when they had me, and not married. And he abused her, alcohol, lots of things. Smart woman, had a child, and we moved on with life. And I remember it was around just before. It was not that photo that you showed before at the cafe. Maybe 2 years earlier. Mum called. Mum knows not to call me in coffee making hours. So 7 till 10 o'clock, do not call. She used to always call, hey, Joy, how's the cafe going? I'm like, Mum, shut up. I'm like, I'm 2 kilos deep here. Mum. And I'll be like, Mum. I wouldn't be nice. Mum, not now. As you're allowed to do. Well, no, you shouldn't, but you can, you do. She called again, and I'm like, that's whack. I thought she's dying. She's going to be dying. She's just like, she was 50 at the time, so shouldn't have been that either, but it's whack. And she goes, oh, look, just a quick one. Your dad died. Yeah, call us later. I'm like,
Wow.
I didn't think I cared, and then I cared.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity. Had opportunities early on. He lived in Victoria, and I knew his daughters. They lived in Geelong. I could have. It wasn't like I didn't have the opportunity to meet him. But then again, why do you have to meet your dad? I'll leave that open to people's lives. You don't have to meet your biological parents, but I wanted to because I was starting to get involved in the Aboriginal community a bit more. You mentioned in that warm-up piece that I did some volunteer work. I was actually part of the committee for 3 years, and you start getting a bit of a face and a figure within the Aboriginal community, and everyone's like, oh yeah, who's your mob, who's your dad? And I have to keep saying Cyril Kirby, Cyril Kirby, Cyril Kirby. And then I really wanted to meet him, and then I got literally the time when everyone was saying, oh, man, who's your mob? I was like, oh man, just found out my dad died. Went up to the funeral. I told Mum, Mum's always, strangely, as much as the abuse that he inflicted on her, and I'm talking serious physical abuse, she still says he was the only man to make me laugh, and he gave me my son, And Mum was told quite young that she couldn't have kids. So complete miracle. I shouldn't put those fingers up. It is a miracle that I'm here, and that Mum got pregnant because she tried for years in another marriage and was told that she physically can't have kids.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm just this this blimp like in her life that's given her family. I'm her family. So it's all special and jazz, and so the way she looked at it, I mean, credit to her to think positively about him. But we went up to the funeral, and I was getting calls from his daughters, and I know I'm going a long way about this, but this really plays the backstory. I get a call from his daughters, who I've never met and never spoken to. Where's Troy? Where's Troy? Where's Troy? Where's Troy? The funeral started, we were late. I'm like, why would they want me? Like, oh, we want Troy to carry the coffin. I'm like,
whoa.
Mum's on the phone. Mum had the number. I'm like, no, say to hurry up to go with the funeral, and I'll just stand at. I can't. I'm not doing it. No way. I'm carrying the coffin. Because I was 32 at the time, 31. We get there, and she calls again. She's like, look, we got to start. And Mum's like, look, just start. I don't know if Troy's capable of stepping up in that spot, but look, we'll just be there. And we got into the back, and the place was packed, and had some eulogies being read out. One guy gets up with a stubby in his hand, starts talking about his mate Cyril. He goes, Cyril, he didn't love a lot of things. He loved booze, he loved playing his guitar, but he never stopped talking about his son Troy in Geelong.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Gee. You've never met him. You're now at the funeral. You've never heard. You've lived a life because you know that's your life, right? This is your heritage. This is your Aboriginality. This is what it is. And then you get to there and you hear somebody that's sliding door moments, hear the other side of the story.
Because I don't know the commentary. I don't speak to him. You don't know what he thinks. You got to imagine it. And probably I didn't. I go, nah, as if he's thinking it. Because why wouldn't he call? Like, that's just the natural way of, why wouldn't he call? He could call me. Easily call me. But if he's thinking about it all the time, like, man, he told his mates about me? That's crazy.
What was the emotions? So the emotions of you hear that, and then obviously what you're saying.
I'm standing in front of my mum at this time, by the way, like hugging my mum. We're at the back. being the son of the person that died at the back of a funeral procession is really strange because all the family's at the front and you're amongst these other people. Usually, I know it's the less important or less influenced people in their lives are towards the back.
Yeah.
And I was just at the back. And anyway, so it was time to carry the coffin out, and the sisters turned around, and I stood down, like hid, so they didn't see me. And they carried the coffin out, and then I stood back up, and everyone cleared out, and I was last, and I stopped, and had a moment in front of a big. I don't know where the heck they got it, but it was this oversized billboard of his face with a pair of thongs, and they were Geelong Cats thongs. I'm a mad Cats fan.
Wow.
I'm like, this person's had things very connected to me, and I still regret to this day not putting my hand up for my sisters, because I can't imagine if I wanted someone carrying my mum's coffin and they said no. And I regret that so much. And I continue to regret it. And you talk about pivotal crossroads. You know, I went out, long story short, I sat there and, you know, said my piece and looked up at him. And, you know, I don't believe you can communicate with dead people, but I had my moment with him for me, and Mum kind of went off and left me there, and I was face to face with my dad, you know, and I went out. I'd never met anyone, and I just saw about 8 uncles all look exactly like me, like more than my dad. And they're like, Troy, like, this is your Auntie Carol, this is your Auntie Gina, this is your Auntie Pat over here, this thing. Straight away walked in, I like grabbed my mum, dragged my mum in, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, Mum, I remember you, man. It used to be around the way. We used to tent up, we used to hitchhike, you know, we done some good times around camp, and yeah, I just from then on, I have said yes to more things when it's uncomfortable, because it's not about. I was selfish then. I'm less selfish, and if someone asks me to do something for them that involves me, that feels uncomfortable, that I know I'm being selfish about, I usually do it now. If you ask me to, hey, can you MC my mum's funeral? Can you help me move my house because something's going on? Like, I'll most likely say yes now. I know that's in a different space than carrying a coffin out for your family, but I won't.
But isn't it exactly the same though? And I mean, with the respect where it is, like the when you chose not to, and then thought about that process, and now you see the other side of it, how much do you connect that back to your father-son relationship, your Indigenous relationship, your relationship to humanity? How much do you connect to those three, or which one do you think it leans into most, or does it lean into either of those, or?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like,
so
that moment,
or the part that you feel now, where you open up to saying yes to people now. What does that connect to most? The driver that connect to most.
I think relationships. Did you say something about relationships there? Like, I think I have never been the best son, and I haven't been a great friend, and I certainly haven't been a great partner for the relationships that I've had. I haven't been a good worker, like, as in, like, looking after authority. You talk about father relationship with my dad. I mean, I didn't have a dad around, and that affects. I've seen it so often that it affects your relationship with authority. And I had a problem with authority.
Wow.
And I don't think I do anymore. No, I do. It's just I can handle it now. But some people tell me things, and I think they're not in the right boat to be telling me what to do. That's a problem with authority.
Wow. And hearing that and the connection you have to that, but the fact that you acknowledge what that looks like, because that when you talk about authority, our mind sometimes goes to authority in policing, authority in these other areas, but there's also authority in relationships.
100%. Like if someone needs something from you and it's a command, or like today, I'm your guest. Like if you want something done, I should be listening. Like you're the one who's investing this time.
And this is really interesting to me to be in this space too, knowing the type of person that you are. And I've known you for a few years. The things that you're telling me now, Troy, I'm blown away with, because I've never seen or had the inkling or any of that about you. But knowing that you like to be in charge is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. For me, it's a little intimidated walking in here going, okay, this is your space. I've got to respect your space. But I also want want the people outside of here to hear the journey that you go through, because this gives me goosebumps, brother. This is where it changes lives, right? Because this is where it helps people. And you've been through a journey, and there's so many other kids that I've spoken to out there that have been through journeys, and they look at somebody like you and they go, I want to be Troy.
And I think, I'm thinking about masculinity and malehood, manhood, fatherhood. They all probably provoke this kind of vibe. And I know, we've got a lot of hetero men in our lives that we're not afraid to not be masculine or that's do. But I really want to personally dig deeper into that. Is what is my role, and as a Christian, I know you've got Christian values as well throughout your family and culture, but the man is to protect his wife. And there's a lot of problems out there that might say, a man's the head of the house. Hang on. He's got to give his life. His role is to give his life for his family. Like, wife's role is not to jump in front of a bullet if bullets come in. I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but I just want to talk about that framework. Like, a man is also meek. A man is not to put their children through insecurity, have an insecure home. Like, I want my son to look at me and I don't want to yell at my wife. I want to love my wife. I want to serve my friends. I want to do the hard work for others with no expectations. But the word meek and male right now is something that I'm really trying to bind together and work out. How does a meek man operate in 2023?
How does a meek man
as a leader?
Yeah. So in your eyes, how does a meek man work in 2023? What does it look like?
I think what women do really well is they don't speak quickly, or they don't pretend they know they got the answers. This could easily turn into a male mental health podcast easily, because we've got lots to talk about in that space. But I think men do need to, like I have just done then, publicly talk about their weaknesses. Like, stop putting them in a cupboard and stop hiding them. Even, I know there's so many men out there, actually people in general, but let's concentrate on men that have hidden so much from their partner. And I don't know about your journey with Kylie, but I know there's been heaps of transformation over the last 10 years. But you becoming, and people becoming more, she's going to help me get through it, not I'll do it and you just wait for me to fix myself. Like, you've got to, and let's extend it out to our friends and family who we call our community. But I've noticed it starts from calling out my own weakness, not calling out other people's weaknesses.
That's
calling
massive.
out my own weakness.
That's massive, because if you look at we did on RGR, we did a session once, and I was talking about something, and we dialed into a bit of masculinity, and I was talking about it from really emotional component, because I was just starting to find at age 40-something, my own masculinity, my definition of it. So I started talking about something, and I was really emotional about it, and I was like, masculinity, and your response, which has stuck with me, was, but we need that level of energy. you need that physical that
sure.
masculinity. You need that positive component. And I hadn't thought about it because I was too far the other way thinking about it.
Thinking you had to erase it? Like,
it was almost not even erase it, but I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't
sure.
thought about it. So when you raised it, I was like, whoa, okay, take a step back, take a breath, and work out what this journey looks like. Now, you know, the fact that you've mentioned it and identified it, you know, that's massive. What were phases in your life when you were like, I now see what this is. I can see what I'm doing.
I think when I met my wife, when I met Carissa, and of all the people that God's put in my life for eternity, it's the most meekest. You now know what I'm going? Yeah. Man, God just put a massive draw four on top of a draw four. Like, I'm out. You win, I'm going with it. Like, I thought I had to find a woman that is not same, everything, like up and about. Let's go. Let's do a podcast together. Yeah, let's rock and roll. Carissa is the most, she has all the things that I want, all of them. And I've never been able to, I've always admired it in people, but I've also thought I don't need that you're weak. You've been too double-minded. She's a thinker, and there is things that she should pull the trigger on earlier. But man, she is the epitome of beauty and the way God designed beauty. It's just it's about like cleanliness and purity, and she's one of the most pure people I've ever met. And then I'm starting to build a family with her. It's like, I didn't think this was the deal, but that's when I realized how important it was to continue building with someone else on the things that I need to build on with someone that is already in the game. And she's the CEO of Meekness.
It's that thing too of like, you know, you sort of sit there and you think to yourself, I need somebody who can go head to head with me. I need somebody who can challenge me. I need somebody who can do that. I did a fair bit of work with my psych and my wellbeing teams around me, and that was one of the big things for me. I need somebody to go head to head with. And then when we drilled down into it, it was like, could you go head to head with them? I'm like, no, because I'd win, because that's my thing, right? So you actually don't want somebody to go head to head with you, but that's that element, right? So she provides this mirror for you to see.
Totally.
And you're like, whoa, I didn't see that before, but now because of the way that you are and what I see in you, I now see me.
And a lot of things that have taught me is my relationships, not just with other partners, but with friends. And I'm the damager. I've damaged a lot. I haven't repaired a lot. I've damaged a lot. I should be repairing. But sometimes you do too much damage. And I'm the first person to put my hand up. Man, I was just not the most ruthless, but I've got to admit it. I was ruthless. Like, man, you didn't fit into my box that I wanted you to fit in. You're out. I'm solo. I'm an only child, so I've got defense mechanisms like you wouldn't believe. Like, if this doesn't go my way, you're the worst, and scrap you, because I'm staying in my lane and get out of my way. And I just don't think that should be promoted at all when it comes to personal friendships and dealing with human society. So
you talk about the definition of meek. You seeing what you've just seen and realizing what that is. It's pretty meek to me.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say that I'm also learning so much in this space, because I've got to undo who I've been, and there's some things that are in my life that were embedded in me that are the issue. So, I mean, doing that little kind of that deep foundational work, it comes at a cost, because you're still wanting to be pulled up, but man, it's tiring being pulled up, and living with my wife every day. I mean, talking about damage, rounding back there, the damage that I did with my friendships, I see myself lightly doing it with my wife, but I'm way more aware of it, because you do it to a person that doesn't fight back, man, it hurts. You're like, I'm so bad. Like,
and that's also saying about somebody, you want somebody who challenges you. You know, my definition was always, I want somebody to challenge me back.
Yeah.
But then you watch this energy go towards, and you're like, whoa, that energy was too much.
It's like, man, I don't deserve this. You know, you think, man, I don't deserve this woman. I think sometimes men do go in this spiral of depression because they hang around good people, and good people, like you said, put up a mirror in front of them and go, and guys might get so flat thinking, I am so far behind everyone else, but you can get out of it. The hope is there because thankfully I've had such great people around that I've never been short of finding someone to go be mentored with or just spend more time with somebody, and not just my wife, but good friends. Like I said, when I'm at the cafe, I met so many great people there, and thankfully they had to come in and get coffee. But I learnt so much on how they ran their business, how they'll deal with just conflict in the cafe space, how they'll deal with their workspace, how they would talk about busyness. They wouldn't talk about business. They're really appreciative all the time. They would be open about the death of their dog or something like that.
Really interesting. Let's go back to that really quickly. You're dealing with a lot of suits that are going to work, to and from work. And you're saying that people wouldn't come in, they wouldn't talk about, their KPIs this month or their monthly meetings or anything like that. They would talk about what?
Oh, you name it. The weekend, it's just like the hairdresser, like a hairdresser, or I say the fruit shop because I used to hang out at a fruit shop, and it was just a safe space. It's one of those neutral little HQs where the wife ain't there, the kid ain't there, the person that you just fought with at work ain't there, your ex-girlfriend's not there, your old employee that you stole from when you were 15's not there. Like, you got this little cafe there that used to come in.
You're there for 10, 15 minutes and you're out.
You left the scene of the crime. It's quick, in, out, and the barista ain't going to... I'm not going to sit there and go, oh man, you should have heard what that guy just said. Like, I can't be bothered. I've got to make coffees, and they don't care either because they don't know him, and there's no need. So,
our local our local cafe owner Hamza, he owns a place called Local Rules, is supporting the show as well. But I'd sit there and I do a lot of work from there, and I'd watch him listen to everybody that comes in there. And I sort of sit down with afterwards and I say, mate, who listens to you? And he goes, not. I go to a cafe, I get my coffee, and they listen to me, but I listen to everybody that comes in.
They don't. I remember you do get very tired of conversation, and I used to on weekends. Just stay away from people after a week, because as much as it's enjoyable stuff, far out, it's to listen.
Draining.
Because I'm absorbing it all. Like, I am genuinely absorbing it all. Like, I'm interested. I'm going, what's going on here? Here's Scanlon coming in. Like,
especially when you're walking past them and go, hey, I've seen you the second time today. And you were in a different pants 4 years ago as you were walking down here. You were walking a dog, but it was a different dog. Wasn't that dog?
I interviewed. I don't even remember on the RGR. I interviewed. Danny Green, and I've known Greenie for a long time. The thing that fascinates me, he said for his whole life, he mentioned it on the when he meets people, he's looking at face structure of combos of, like, you've got two eyebrows, but you got a freckle there, so you need to find another freckle over there, and he's doing this full face calculation whilst he's meeting people. But he said every single person, like, I relate to this. Like, I'm not doing that.
How awkward. Now I know that. I never want to meet him. Because I'll be like, I'll be like doing this, I'm moving my head.
But yeah, I mean, I just relate to the kind of, sometimes, and that's probably half the reason why I don't remember those people's names, is because I'm just like listening to them and thinking how it relates to me, and what can I offer them, and what's their coffee.
You can remember somebody's name and forget their story. You remember their journey. And it's so intertwined with their name that it kind of doesn't even matter that you don't know their name. Yeah. Because hey, this is your coffee, and I know, and how's your dog? And I heard your mum, this happened last week, and is everything okay? That type of thing, where sometimes you just miss that component of what their name is.
And, I was just thinking, where do I get this from? And my mother is the all-time greatest listener. And she used to call it gas bagging back in the day, but it was literally bagging people's emotions and conversations. And she feels it. She feels what people feel.
I love that. I love that terminology. Literally bagging people's emotions.
Yeah, it is.
Put them into this space here and just going, hey, let's just keep all this here. Let's keep all this here. And to me, the picture I get is let's bag your emotions. Let's hold into here, so that when we come back to it, I know where it is and I know what it looks like. Versus it's just words that go past me, and so they don't take on the information.
Remember that movie, The Green Mile?
Yeah, I love My Best.
Yeah,
My Best.
I mean, he did it at an excessive scale so much, but he was doing it, for people in prison. But it's needed. Like, it's needed. I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I'm like, ugh, that was too much. So you hear traumatic situations all the time. If you worked in child protection or something like, you probably would be seeing some pretty crazy stuff. And we know about trauma with cops. Cafe's always been a big joy.
You've done lots of different things. 3K&D, Cool and Deadly.
Had a good time on 3K&D. It was a great stint that allowed me to get back into radio after RGR and run a midday show. It was really good. 3K&D is probably the premier Indigenous owned and operated radio show that doesn't always need to promote Aboriginal stories and music, but and I didn't. That was when I did RGR, so I did RGR in the morning, and then whatever
this in the
playlist I grabbed from
afternoon.
that, I played to the 3K&D.
But I tell you what was really interesting, having listened to RGA in the morning, where it was Troy, and it was going 3K&D, and it was like, welcome to this afternoon's episode of, and I was like, whoa, and understanding professional and polished, and sometimes you've got to be polished, and sometimes,
That's right.
You know, my theory on what I do is I'm not polished, but I'm professional.
That's right. That's right. It was a really good time there, and big love to 3KD. They looked after me and allowed me to broadcast from home. The cafe was something that had big long-term community impact. This Black Stage night at a time where it came about because I was working with the NAIDOC committee, and we put on 5 key events through NAIDOC Week, which is the first week of July in Victoria, and then it was everyone scrounging, all these artists I was scrounging for the only 5 gigs that were on, and then you wouldn't have anything to offer them. And so I thought, why isn't there a regular night where it's open mic? And that's stupid. Like, we've got so many Indigenous artists in and around Melbourne that come down for concerts, that come down for Rec Week, that whatever, like, but even just our Aboriginal community that are sitting at home playing a piano to nothing, like, or want to sing to a backing track. So I started this 4 years ago, Black Stage. It's at the Retreat Hotel in Brunswick, and it has become the go-to night for all Aboriginal people, whether or not they're famous and want to flesh out some songs or want to sit around. But it's 80% Aboriginal people and 20% local Brunswick crew. And it's such a beautiful night and has built artists up to be prepared for going out and putting a demo out, or because they've got a regular spot to play. Bringing people together, and not just bringing people together, there's an art form to it. You've got to have the right platform for them to go onto. There's no point bringing heaps of people to a space and having no idea what's going to happen. So, but I look at these things, and over recently, I've had an opportunity to look at kind of a couple of key things that I've done over the last 15 or 20 years. And my best man talked about it at the wedding. He's like, man, Troy's done it again. He's brought all of us together in this building. And he went on a bit and talked about it a little bit more seriously and said that, it was very humbling. But I enjoy and we talk about RGR, we brought people together. I just enjoy bringing people together and them having not just a good time, but it's got to be memorable. I think it's not easy to make it memorable for the right reason, a good reason. Yeah. They might remember it because it was the worst party I've ever been to. It was the worst radio show I've ever heard. We had a guy come up to us talking about the worst of something, and I've very rarely been told I've got the worst of something, but an old guy at Port Fairy Festival, it was the first time we did Port Fairy Festival last year, and we were banging out hot chocolates, teas, and one of the volunteers comes walking up, and he was standing down the corner here. Excuse me. And he's got a hot chocolate in his hand. We're ready to hear how good the hot chocolate is. We pay a lot of money for our hot chocolate, by the way. Hey, just let you know, this is the worst hot chocolate I've ever had. The worst hot chocolate I've ever had.
Wow.
Don't tell us. Because it's the worst hot chocolate I've ever had. See ya, and just walked off. Anyway, talking about worse, he probably will never forget Black Brews. Yeah. You want to be remembered for the right reason.
Another sip and keeps walking, though.
Yeah, he's like, anyway. But look, hey, and in particular this summer series, I don't want to promote it too much because there's no point, because it'll probably be over by the time this comes out. But it's the community love seeing their heroes. And they don't come down often, and if they do, it's unannounced. Dallas Woods it just played literally a day or two less than the day before, and we usually get a headline. We've been supported by the Retreat and Songlines, and they've funded a guest opener. But the whole point of Black Stage is, in this particular series, of having someone a bit fancy and noted to come in there, is to get the crowd in early, and then it gives an opportunity for these artists to play in a bigger size crowd, because usually if they go on a Tuesday, they play against a small crowd, So it's just to give him that extra.
Well, it's
I
a
guess,
platform.
dimension.
It's building
Yeah.
that platform and opportunities for them as they continue to grow
Yeah.
and go further.
And the award goes to
Oh man.
Sarisa Benjamin.
Thank you, Omar, for this amazing acknowledgement. Before I begin my speech, I'd firstly like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are on here today. I'm a proud Jawoyn, Warlpiri and Gurindji woman from Katherine Northern Territory. I have had the privilege of working at Support Act with amazing people, so I do want to acknowledge Support Act and their amazing work that they do for the music industry. I do want to acknowledge my husband, Troy Benjamin, who has supported me, and also my son, Lachlan, for keeping me on my toes. But most importantly, I do want to dedicate this award tonight to my mum. I did lose my mum in July this year. So she was a single mum of 3. And I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for her dedication. So thank you to my mum. Thank you.
What a massive year.
Yeah, she is so much. Since losing Michelle, naturally we've talked about her and thought about her so much more than I ever have before. Obviously, not for Carissa, not because it's her mum, but she's so much like her mum, so much. And Carissa and her would talk every day. That literally was about 4 weeks after she passed. I think we just went travelling and came back, and straight away, that was probably the first time she publicly acknowledged in speech or something that without her mum. I just quickly wrote something down because I wanted to not miss it. Talk about meekness, meek leaders. My wife, she just did. I don't give her credit enough. Again, a regret, but you can do a lot of productive damage quietly. I don't know about. I need to be like most men do. I need acknowledge. I need to be told I'm a champion. Did I win first prize?
exactly.
Hey, tell me, am I good? Did I cook that steak well? How's your food taste? Is dinner good? Just women don't do. Women don't do it. They do it. They seek approval randomly, but she is an amazing person. The work she did at Support Act is just a beast of a job, and there was no First Nations representation in the music industry in terms of crisis relief and mental health. And she started that role just before COVID, completely out of her depth, One, she's not in music, but she just jumped in, and she was ringing me going, hey, have you heard of Christina Anu? Is she? I'm like, babes, are you flipping serious? I'm not joking you. Because well, she's just applied for some crisis relief help. Is she famous and stuff? You're a joke. And then I'm thinking you're the perfect person to be answering the calls, Christina Anu calls, because you're not going to be going, oh, Christina Anu.
Exactly.
She was just so suited for the role, and she just tirelessly worked away at something that you don't know how it's going until you look at something maybe 2 or 3 years down the track. And she finished up at Support Act because this beast of a tea business that we needed her. At the time, though, she lost her mum, and to be acknowledged at the Ormas, which is the Australian Women in Music Awards, which is a nationally recognised awards night, was very deserved. And to think that she talked about her mum there was just a credit to her beauty.
I want to go back to this picture here. This is
get the hair wax out, mate. Get the hair wax. I think I've still got that tub of wax because it wasn't touched after this night.
Now listening to your journey, that's a different person there now that I see.
Oh, yeah.
From so far back, your first Facebook photo to now. What's the letter? What's the consoling? What's the message you would send to yourself now in that photo?
Consider other people more than yourself. Lower yourself to lift people up. for a selfish person, people do not like to be called selfish. It's one of the worst things to be called, I think, you selfish person. But then there's also healthy selfishness. You got to look after yourself. And mine was an unhealthy selfishness there. I had good components. I was fun. I mean, this is at a mate's bar and having a fun time and stuff. But
even just watching your body language now, looking back at that old self, and it's just kind of there's a drawnness in it. There's it's not the energy that I know of the Troy today. There's a different energy to the energy that I know of today.
Yeah, he's just like you think you know it all. You just think you know it all. Don't we think we know it all? I still don't know it all.
But that's an age thing too as well.
Isn't it?
When you're younger, you think the world's my oyster until you realise the oyster's a really small oyster now.
Yeah, like it's not like no one I heard this recently, no one knows what they're doing. I think it was like Denzel Washington and Robert De Niro, and that was sitting around a couch, and one of them was just like, how's everyone thinking that they know everything?
Yeah.
No one knows anything. You don't know anything. Like obviously you do know some things, but you don't know what's going to happen. Don't pretend that you know everything. And we're learning a lot of this in our home life as well, in our family. We've got family devotions now where we kind of really tip into what our family needs and stuff. And we talk about how problematic pride can get in your life.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
don't, man. And just...
That's a whole nother segment that we can run and talk about. But yeah.
Pride and just wanting what other people have got and all the things that are greed and just the things that are just woven into culture, into our lives to make it sound like you be you and all that jazz, which is just a big marketing ploy to say be selfish and don't care about others. And then you wonder why we've got so many problems in the world. And you talk about it before about people just need to listen and care. Well, you be you isn't caring for other people, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm like, don't you be you. Care for other people. How many times have you had a bad situation in your life and you go out and help someone else and it works? Like you end up getting a recharge and it has nothing to do with you. One, it takes a bit of the pressure off what you're dealing with. Two, you feel like you're a valued community member, and isn't that what you want to feel valued? And sometimes doing things for yourself isn't the value that you're looking for.
What's your life motto?
Stop and think. I don't think I did that. We're on a loop here, loopy. I don't think I did that enough, and I wasn't taught it at a young age too, and always tried to. I'm always someone that needs to summarize what someone said or get my word in. Just don't speak. I think speak less and think.
Summer Sessions is proudly brought to you by the Palace Hotel, 505 City Road, South Melbourne, where your dogs are welcome too. First Nations owned with Indigenous ingredients. Order your black brews, tea or coffee online now. Local Rules Cafe, Garden City, where genuine hospitality begins. Mahina Wellbeing Programs, where understanding people matters most. And this is another Light 2 production. Woo!